multi-apping with the cargo van, working Roadie and dispatch. And I'll show you on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. It is Tuesday, January 10, 2023, and I'm in the midst of completing a stacked Roadie and dispatch order opportunities. The dispatch is actually stacked, and I'm en route to dropping off the second of the two stacked orders on dispatch. The first one that I dropped off was to a paper production place, and it was just some smaller items that, in comparison to what I was supposed to deliver last week to this place, but because of the size of the skid and because of the customers being as somewhat difficult, I was canceled out of that opportunity, and so I happened to catch this opportunity. Now, this one I've known about for about a day or so, and this one just paid $20.68 or $20.32. The one that I'm en route to dropping off, which is a skid. A skid is, from what I've come to understand, is something that is about like 8 foot long and about 5 foot wide. It fits easily in the cargo area of my van. That one's paying $14.25. So the stacked opportunities are going to pay $34 and change. One thing that I did mention in this segment of the Gig Geezer was that on the dispatch app, you're paid once a week, and that's on Mondays. And the money does show up. You know, you get a notification that the money showed up, but it is Monday, and you're able to keep track of your earnings through the Stripe app. Now, once I drop off this order, I got to go by a place that's in downtown Columbia. I'll then be going on to the big one. The big one is going to be going by this heating and air warehouse, and this is a place where I picked up 3 heating and air units, and I'll be driving up to again to High Point, North Carolina. That's about 170 mile trip. The pay on it on the Roadie app is $197 and change, which I believe is very, very close to or exactly as what it paid the last time. Now, once I drop off this second of the dispatch orders, I'll be at $95 and change. And you add $197, we're talking $292 just south of 3 bills for the day, and during a very slow time here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. And for that matter, what I'm understanding, it's slow among a lot of drivers. So I feel it's a very big sigh of relief. I did not expect to see something like this happen. All I was expecting to do was go out, try to get to $100, hopefully within 3.5 hours, and call it good. But this is going to be a full day in which I'll make close to 3 bills, and I still have the chance to, quite honestly, on my way back, take some opportunities in Charlotte along the way back to Columbia. But I'll cover that if and when that opportunity arises. Alrighty, I am back after some while later. Here's what happened. The second drop off, as I mentioned, I was on my way to the second drop off. Get there, hand the customer the bill of lading for them to sign, and also the invoice. The lady tells me, after some discussion with their people, and I guess she was on the phone with some folk, I brought them the wrong delivery. So that meant I had to drive back with that skid of product to the people whom I dealt with initially. And then that forced me to get in contact with dispatch, and you don't talk to the people on dispatch, at least so far that's been my experience. You don't talk to them. You send email or you send chat. And they responded by chat that they were going to send me they were going to send me an assignment to return the order, meaning that I was going to get paid the same. Well, I actually got paid more because they sent the wrong one though, but I got paid more than what I was paid going there with the order. So altogether, I made $51.51 on the dispatch orders. Okay, so now here's the deal. So I made $51.57 on the dispatch orders, and now as I was leaving the dispatch pickups, I'm now heading to the north. Basically, what starts as the north, heading towards the northeast part of Columbia to pick up the AC units, and I get the notification. Order's been unassigned due to inactivity, because the order was supposed to have been picked up like about an hour and 15 minutes ago. Yeah, I thought that I was going to be over there about probably the time that it would have taken me to drive from the from that second drop off here in downtown over to the place. I probably would not have had any problem. So it had unassigned me, and then I went back on, and fortunately I got the order again. So now I've got about 15-20 minutes to get there, and I'm trying to do it, and I encountered a fucking railroad crossing. The crossing gates went down, and I immediately tried to do a detour, but then when I got to the main road here, the crossing gates had lifted again. So it seems like I'm just encountering a little bit of everything. Well, with that, the one thing I can say though, with that return delivery, that's put me at $115 and change, and that was done in about 3.5 hours. And actually, it's about 3 hours, in fact, because I started today at about 10:30. So, in a little over 3 hours, I made $115, which is geezer type money. But now, adding the $197, I'm going to be over 3 bills for today. That's what I'm talking about. And quite honestly, I'm going to share a little bit of myself right now. I need that $300 today. I really did, because in the past month, after getting the business credit card, I've had to make a lot of transactions. One of the transactions was a down payment on the van, because I found out with the bank financing, they don't like to finance the full amount or the full value of a commercial vehicle, meaning that no matter how good your credit is, let's say if the amount that the van's value comes in at $20,000, they were only going to finance 95% of it, so that would be $19,000. So that meant that I would have to put out $1,000. In this case, I had to put out $2,200 for the down payment on this van. And in fact, with today being the 10th, my first note payment is on the 28th. So that's coming up. Now, the other thing, and that transaction was on my business credit card. And then I had to also put insurance on the van, and I came in, I decided to do just go all out on the insurance, looking ahead, thinking that maybe certain opportunities will require me to have the desired $1 million coverage, and that's no cheap shit. So that was a $1,290 transaction. So now I'm on the hook for $3,500 on my credit limit, on my business credit card limit. And then there's been other things that I've had to do. In fact, this is where I want to get into about with the cargo van, and I think this is relative. This is pertinent, because you have a lot of people talking about how to start a cargo van business. You see all that shit, but then you don't get really the full details on what you have to do. And quite honestly, I'm at the beginning of this shit. So what I'm sharing is what I've had to experience. What I'm about to share is what I've had to do so far. All right. I have, as you can see here on the inset, this is my first real fucking load. this big ass heating and air unit, this is probably one for the commercial side. According to the invoice, it weighs 433 pounds. So this could have fit on the bed of my F-150, but a cargo van is much more desirable. And this is the type of stuff that I got into. I started looking into getting the cargo van, because this is the stuff that's going to pay down the road for me. So yes, now it's I probably get there about probably close to 5 o'clock. Should have been on the road thanks to the other shit that happened, but I'm okay. I'm on the road. I'm moving. I'll probably have to stop and put money in the tank on the way back, but I'm okay with that. I've more than made my money for today, but hopefully this is some motivation. This is some encouragement, inspiration to you to try to hey, think of an exit strategy and something else that you would want to do other than the DoorDash and the Grubhub and the UberEats and the Bite Squad. And by the way, I happen to get a notification from Grubhub that I can move forward with my onboarding with them, and so it looks like I'm going to be back on Grubhub again, which is a plus. I say it's a plus even though they're full of shit. It's a plus because it's yet another option once again. And hopefully I won't have to deal. Hopefully I will put myself in a position where I won't have to worry about the acceptance rate and how it matters in the wrong way with those motherfuckers. But back to the cargo van business, at least starting out. Again, I am not there yet. My authority has not yet been cleared. Even though I'm in the process of getting my my commercial insurance straightened out again. And the reason why I say that is because I started out that policy using my insurance company name, which was consistent with the name in which this van is being financed through. My insurance company name with me as a co-signer, or the authorizing person under the business name. But this still all shows under business credit. The only thing that was shown under me from a credit standpoint was the credit inquiry with Bank of America. But that said, what I found out was when I created my cargo van business name, which I filed all my federal stuff, my insurance policy has to reflect that. The only thing that matters is that my insurance on the van, the only thing that matters is that the vehicle ID number matches from an insurance standpoint, so that people know that it's covered. But from a federal standpoint, you've got shit that's that has to be made available for public consumption, where anybody can pull up your business name, and that's where the US DOT number, the US Department of Transportation number, comes in. If you ever look at the trucks, you look at transport vehicles, you'll see on there the name of the business, and then maybe a phone number, maybe not, but you'll see US DOT, US Department of Transportation, and then you'll see, in most cases, an MC number, a motor carrier number. Well, that's the number in which you have your authority to transport items. And for me, it's general goods. I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, you will have seen it now a couple of times, the correct name mentioned on the inset. But I am on the road now, heading up to High Point. The next time that I actually will come back on this will probably be from the gig studio, in which I'll wrap up this segment of the Gig Geezer. And in this particular case, wrapping up any loose ends in what I described in terms of the starting of the cargo van business, but also wrapping up any loose ends of today's adventures, as you would say. One other thing before I get out, by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now, I mentioned that the money I made on dispatch was $51.57. On DoorDash, I actually had a DoorDash order while waiting for a DeliverThat catering opportunity. The DoorDash shop and pay from Lowe's supermarket paid $15.66, and there was 12 items. The DeliverThat catering opportunity is paying $31 and change. At least that's what I'm estimating, because the tips have been kind of low lately from the tip pool. And then the last thing that I had before this was a UberEats. It was for $10.40, but it was actually a stacked opportunity in which it would have added another $9 and change. And it was actually a big order, but UberEats, at least at this particular merchant, there are times in which UberEats orders don't come through, and so I got a $4 cancellation. So in all for that, I made $14.40, which put me at $115 coming into this pickup.
Alrighty. All right, I am back in the gig studio. I am now several hours removed from having completed that Roadie order that went from Columbia to High Point. And what I wanted to do, as I mentioned while I was out on the road, I want to at least clear up or clean up some things that I mentioned on the fly while on the road while driving. And I'm going to start off about some things that was on my mind about what I've seen with a lot of uploaded material on people talking generically, but not specifically about starting a cargo van business. And what I've noticed is that there leaves more questions to be asked than anything else. And I guess I'm guilty of being the type of person who wants to at least provide more information than the next person. It may not be everything, every single nook and cranny, but it's certainly enough to get you going in the right direction. So most people say that you need to create a business name, get an EIN, which is your tax number, of course, get a van, get insurance, and apply for what's called a USDOT number. A USDOT number is a registration number with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. That's FMCSA, which is used to track compliance in terms of safety, that is, like with insurance, accidents, inspections, and driver information. Of those items, a business name may cost you money depending on the state. Now, where I'm at in South Carolina, it costs $145 to apply for a business name, more than likely for an LLC, and also to have online access to your papers. And that's important for other business reasons, as I've shared on a couple of segments here about how to treat, for example, like DoorDash as a business, and on my next move, which I just showed that I just purchased a cargo van. Now, then there's also talk about finding contracts and other opportunities. Well, personally, I'm already finding there's a hell of a lot more than what's said. And in my situation, what I'm dealing with is the fact that because of the money that I have made on average over the past several years, I have found that a lot of the opportunities that are spoken of in terms of contract opportunities or would be pay cuts, a wash, and the ones that really would pay, I'll kind of share more in terms of what would need to be done on my part in order to be in a position to even attract their attention. Now, here are some things that I have found as an owner operator of less than a month that these are things that you need to consider. And this may also be, again, a review of things that I've just mentioned. So, yes, you need to create a business name. And yes, you need to go on irs.gov and create and apply or submit for an EIN number. That's also free. Now, personally, I recommend that you open two business checking accounts, one for money going in and one for money going out. Now, in order to open those business checking accounts, you need to have papers on your business, which is that business name, that articles of incorporation for that LLC, more than likely. And depending on the financial institution, it could be $100 to $150 to open each business checking account number. Now, of course, you got to decide on a vehicle. And there's many ways of purchasing a vehicle, or in some situations, gaining access to one by renting one. And if a person has to rent one, then that's for reasons that are necessary to that individual or individuals. I have shared in a couple of Gig Easer uploads or segments in which how I purchased mine through financing through Bank of America. Then, of course, there's the insurance. Now, me being an insurance agent, there's some things that I have learned in the process of even setting up my own commercial insurance. Now, with insurance, if it's done correctly, meaning that if it's done correctly, you must have commercial insurance because you're operating a commercial vehicle. And that process is different than your personal vehicle or what we call personal insurance. And again, I am talking from multiple years' experience, having been an agent in property and casualty and having my own agency. And what you'll find is that there are certain filings that have to be made through various state and government agencies, and there's a fee associated with that. Your premium is going to be based on certain factors, just like with your personal auto. It's going to be your background, meaning that it's going to be based on your insurance score, which is a snapshot of your credit and driving history. Then there's the vehicle itself. There's going to be a number assigned to your vehicle, and the coverages. Whether you get full coverage or combined single limit coverage or split coverages. I know I'm talking in insurance parlance, but the level of your coverage is going to affect your premium. And then there's something called your range of operation. It may be from 0 to 50 miles, 0 to 100 miles, 0 to 200 miles, or 0 to 500 miles. In my case, what I found out when I had to go back in and have some things updated, which meant that I had to basically create a new policy. In fact, it won't be finalized until later this week. My carrier said that I have to start out with the 0 to 500-mile range because it's the first year of a policy. And commercial policies typically last 1 year instead of, in some cases, 6 months. But then again, in personal auto, you have policies that may last for 6 months or for a year. But in commercial, it's typically 1 year. Now, if you choose to operate in state, you may not have to apply what is called an MC number. An MC number is a motor carrier number, and that is filed through the FMCSA, which is where you file for your US DOT number. And in order to operate across state lines, you must have an MC number. So if you look on vehicles on the road, you typically will see two numbers that are on that vehicle, in addition to the name of that company that's on the vehicle. You'll see what's called a US DOT number, which I've already covered, and then an MC number. And that MC number says then that these people have the authority to transport goods or items across state lines for pay. Now, when you apply, there's a 21-day waiting period before you actually will be granted your authority, or your authority will go into effect. That 21-day waiting period allows to make sure that you have everything in compliance. Now, also, to apply for an MC number, there are 5 general categories that you may apply for, but typically, if you're like me, it's only going to be for one of them, and that's going to cost you $300. And each authority that you apply for is another $300. And I made a mistake and applied for a second one when I didn't need it, and now I'm in the process of getting a refund for that, along with another fee that was associated with it. So it's like $500 that I am looking to get back. Now, the other authorities are passenger. Basically, if you're transporting 8 or more people across state lines, you would have to apply for an authority. Household, this is the one that I'm talking about. Household is when you're basically doing moving business. And so there's an authority with that, and then there's a fee or some type of setup that you have to have for arbitration purposes, and that's $189. Then there's private and enterprise. Those are the other authorities that typically are applied for. But basically, for what you and I will be doing is for property. That is the most generic one. Not only that, there is a safety audit that goes with that USDOT. And so there are certain things that you have to have on hand in your vehicle if and when there is an inspection or safety audit. There's an approved first aid kit that you got to have, fire extinguisher that you've got to have, and then there are the safety triangles that you have to have in the event that you have a breakdown. And so I purchased all three of those things on Amazon for like $180. Then there is what's called a UCR number, or Unified Carrier Registration Number. That is a filing fee to operate across state lines. And that is based on the number of vehicles that you're going to have in operation. It could be as much as $99 each vehicle for that filing. Then there's your individual driver compliance that goes through the FMCSA. And there are certain requirements based on the class of vehicle that you're driving. If you're using a cargo van, you won't be subject to a drug test and actually carrying a DOT card. But there's a certain administrative process that you have to go through in your filing. And so you have to make sure all that is correct. I mean, the feds will get you for even a misplaced comma, or they get you for a lot of things. It's a cash grab. But anyway, that filing is $199 per driver. Now, that said, I have seen material, or I've seen content uploaded that says you can start your own cargo van business for as little as $300. Maybe so, but I'll say this much. At least this is what I'm finding out. Now, my grandmother used to tell me the right way may not be the fastest way, but it is the surest way. And the reason why, if you do it right, it's going to take, in the long run, the least amount of time. And in a business sense, it's not going to cost you as much. So keep that in mind. But I think a more realistic number in starting a cargo van business outside of purchasing a van and insurance, the ancillary cost is more like anywhere between, or realistic numbers, anywhere between $2,000 and $2,500. Now, a cargo van does not require a federal that USDOT inspection, but your state may require an inspection. And then there's the vehicle registration that goes with it. Now, this is all what I'm finding out to be the case. I may be wrong, but I welcome your input in correcting me. But for all that I've shared, there's one other thing that I'm going to have to do before I really get going, and that is installing a wood flooring in the cargo van bay. And the reason for that is it's really to protect my vehicle from stuff that could happen. And there's I know how to put that in, but there's something else that I want to put in. Is what's called an E-track system. And that E-track system is something that you're able to secure your loads, your pallets, or whatever it is, with what's called ratchet straps. So that's an additional cost as well. Now, and depending on what source you use to find loads and other opportunities, you're likely going to have to pay for a subscription to access these apps or services. And some of those, before you even get access into these apps and services, guess what? You got to include your DOT and MC number. So keep that in mind as well. Now, finishing out today, I left Columbia a little after 2:30, and I arrived at that heating and air business in North Carolina right at about 5 o'clock. Now, I had to call the business because there appeared to be nobody inside the office or reception area, but there were actually 5 folk on the property waiting for my arrival. They told me that they actually expected me to be there about 7 o'clock, at least according to the Roadie app. And it appeared that I was in Charlotte. So me showing up at 5 o'clock was far more desirable. Now, in all for the day, I earned $309.92. So that's my first $300 day of the year. But for what I'm looking to do, I need to be making a minimum of $425 to $450 a day, while I'm out there. And my weekly goal needs to be stepping up to anywhere between 2,200 and 2,500 a week. Um, the earliest that I may be in a position, based on the way I'm trying to go about things, it's going to be another two weeks, 2.5 weeks at a minimum. But a breakdown of the actual earnings. Before I left Colombia, I made 1566 on one DoorDash shop and go. And then, as I showed earlier in this segment of the Gig Geezer, the two dispatch deliveries for 5157. I also had a DeliverThat catering opportunity for 3122. At least that's my estimate. And then I also had a UberEats for 1440, and that includes uh, a $4 cancellation because it was actually a stacked order, but the merchant whom I dealt with did not have the order, and so I had to contact Uber Eats support. So that's all I have for this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm in Wood Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.